Hello, how are you doing? Welcome back to Football Manager 2024 and something a little bit different. This is my Arsenal team guide for all of you that want to take on Arsenal this year. We'll be having a look at various things such as the expectations that they have, of course, the squad depth that they've got, some suggested tactics from myself, and that all-important transfer budget that you are going to have to take on your own journey with the Gunners. Now, they're going to be a very popular save this year. Of course, last year got very, very close to winning the league title. In fact, I think spent 95% of the season on top of the standings, but bottled it in the end. So can you go one better than Mikel Arteta and win that elusive Premier League title that they haven't won since 2004, being the Invincibles? It's obviously been a bit of a rapid rise over the last couple of years with Mikel Arteta, trusting the process and all of that, but can you take them that one step to take the league title? That's going to be the big question. Here's the key information that you need to know about Arsenal. So obviously captained by Martin Odegaard, vice captain is Gabriel Jesus, and their key player, if you decide to go with original or real world options, is going to be Declan Rice. Now, for the purposes of this video, I've went for original. Obviously, there might be some slight changes with the real world option because players come in on the real date of their transfer, which sometimes changes the transfer budget. But for what it's worth, original and real world should have the same transfer budgets available to them. Obviously, you'll just have Declan Rice at a different point of pre-season, and you know, that sort of thing. So you do need to consider that. But let's have a little look at the club vision. And these are the expectations that are going to be on you straight away. We will have a look at what the differences are at the end of the video if you go for a Your World option without Declan Rice, without anybody that Arsenal signed over the summer. We'll have a look at those subtle changes in a little bit. The top one is increased commercial revenue. Now, that's a very difficult one to understand, especially if you are new to FM. Now, the way I would take that is you want to sign some big name players that bring in the shirt sales. That's what my interpretation of it would be. So, for instance, if you went out and signed Messi, which you won't be able to do, but say you did, because his world reputation is going to be some of the best in the game, that will set off a message that you're going to increase shirt sales, and that idea, I think, is what it's looking for. So signing high reputation players is what you're going to be wanting to do to increase commercial revenue, by signing and using players who bring a merchandise boost. So maybe if Gabriel Jesus is your biggest shirt sales person, stick him up front. Don't stick Nketiah up front. Maybe that sort of idea. Work within the wage budget. That's a big one. Most clubs will have that. Needing to work within that. Make sure you don't go over it. Don't overspend, because you can see that is a 4-bar requirement. So the confidence will come down rapidly if you are losing money every week through your wage budget. And they would prefer you to grow the club's reputation. That's going to be through performing well in competitions. Winning the Premier League probably would do that. Of course, doing well in the Champions League as well is going to increase that club reputation. And that sort of works hand in hand with the commercial revenue aspect. If you are signing really top quality players into those positions, high reputation, that's then going to increase your club reputation. So all of those work in tandem. Then, a bit of an interesting one, they have a policy of minimum 4-year contracts for first team players. So if you sign somebody that you are planning on playing in the first team, you are more than likely going to have to give them a 4-year contract. And that is pretty huge, actually, in terms of if you want to sign Jamie Vardy in season 1, who's 37 now, in theory, you have to give him a 4-year contract. It's a little bit flexible for the older players, but you don't want to be given that a length of contract to older players. So that's a subtle way of saying we want you to sign a little bit younger players. In terms of their competition expectations, reaching the latter stages of the Champions League, so that's going to be out of the group stage, qualifying for the UEFA Champions League, through the league. So top 4 finish will get you there this season. Challenging for the FA Cup, being competitive in the Carabao Cup and Community Shield. They don't actually care about the Carabao Cup or Community Shield, but they prefer you to challenge to win the FA Cup. Going forward, though, they do want you to become recognised as best of the rest. And then challenge for the Premier League title a little bit later on in the journey, and then by 2027 winning the Champions League and winning the Premier Division and continuing to win it at the end of a 5-year plan. Now, of course, we have the other expectation, which is going to be from the supporters. Now, they want you to play some attacking football. They want you to play entertaining football. If you're doing both of those things, they tend to work hand in hand. Once again, they work in tandem. Now, this is interesting. They want you to finish above Tottenham. That is required from the fans. They are not going to be happy if we are finishing behind Tottenham at the end of the season. But they'd also desire you to finish ahead of Man United and Chelsea. They do require you to finish above Liverpool as well and become recognised as best of the rest. Now, that really... they want to be second, essentially. They know Man City are incredible, so they want to be best of the rest is the idea there for Arsenal. That's their interpretation of best of the rest. You can see how their fans are distributed right there. Now, looking at transfers, of course, I'm doing it in the original way, so you can see when all of the players joined, if you like. Kai Havertz, of course, joined from Chelsea for £62 million. Is going to be a player that you're going to have to try and work into the system. That's one of the jobs Mikel Arteta has given himself in real life, is how do you fit Kai Havertz into this system? Declan Rice, of course, £100 million, big price tag, huge player, 4-star ability, 4.5-star potential, can still get better. He's playing for England. He's going to be a key player. If you want to do well, he's going to be your future captain. He's going to be somebody that is starting every single week. Now, Jurrien Timber, of course, has got an injury in real life, and that has been reflected into the game as well. So he's going to be out for your first season. So you might want to dip into the transfer market and get another right back, because £34.5 million, it's a real shame, but he has got 4-star potential. Hopefully he will come back for you in season 2. And then you've got David Raya in goal on loan. Do you want to keep going with him as number 1? Of course, I don't know if there are any future fee agreements. I don't think there is. So you're not going to really be able to get him from Brentford come the end of the season. If you are playing him every week, they're going to want to shed a load of money for him at the end of the year. Why don't you play Aaron Ramsdale? That's what I'd suggest, is maybe bring Aaron Ramsdale back into the fold. So let's have a little look at tactics now, and my suggested tactical direction is probably somewhere between a vertical tiki-taka, control possession, gegenpress. You know, it's the usual lot, really. You don't want to be going counter-attacking. I've gone for the vertical tiki-taka this time, just because I think that's more the Arsenal way, if you like. Passing between each other, but making your way up the pitch, trying to score goals. That's what I'm looking for, really, when I am watching Arsenal and wanting them to play at their best. But this, I think, is going to be your strongest side going into your first game of the season. Aaron Ramsdale in between the sticks, then Tomiyasu, Saliba, White and Zinchenko in defence. You can see I've put White as a ball-playing defender on cover. You could play him at right back and bring in Gabriel, but I do like Tomiyasu at right back. And the good thing about him is he's only 24. He can bomb forward and hopefully give you a little bit more going forward than maybe Ben White could. But I might be wrong. It's obviously up to you how you want to play your game. But having him as the cover defender and Saliba ball-playing defender on defend. Then Zinchenko as an inverted wing-back will come into this sort of defensive midfield position as Tomiyasu is going a little bit more advanced. Jorginho and Rice as our defensive mids. Rice likes being a DM on support, so we'll put him on to support there. And Jorginho likes being a DLP on support as well. Thomas Partey could be somebody that you put in there. Not too many options defensive midfield wise. You've got El Neni there as well, down in what I would call the reserves. Then Saka on the right, Trossard on the left, Ødegaard in the middle, and then Gabriel Jesus up top. Now, of course, that means Kai Havertz doesn't make it into the first team, and you could maybe move Jorginho forward and Rice forward there and make them a little bit more defensive and bring Kai Havertz into the midfield that way, or swap him round with Ødegaard and do something like that. You could play that game if you wanted to. It is, of course, up to you and how you want your team to play. You could bring Martinelli in on the left-hand side, and you could have Trossard a little bit more centrally. You could have Trossard there behind the striker. There's some real options with Arsenal here, but what I would be looking to do is bring in a little bit more balance, and you could do that through the transfer market, of course. Just a quick look at the development centre so that you can see what is down here. In terms of potential, you know, you've got Rule Waiters there, but not a massive amount of potential down there, but a couple of very good prospects down in the under-18 squad in Miles Lewis-Skelly and Ethan Nwaneri. Certainly looking like the real deal. But if you have a little look at our finances, transfer budget, if you're playing original or real world, you are going to end up with about £5 million to spend. So it's that real balance of, do I go back in time? Do I risk losing Declan Rice to somebody else so that I can have a bit more money to play with? I don't know. It's a very tricky situation. Luckily, on the wage budget, they do have about 200,000. So there might be some free agents that you can find down there. Some of your highly recommended players by the scouts include Alisson. You're not getting him, I'm afraid. Enzo Fernandez, again, you're not getting him. But have a little look at some of the players down here. Yasser Espria, could he be somebody that you bring in? He's only 19 years old. He's quite cheap though, obviously coming from Watford in the Championship, but could he be somebody that gives you that little bit of depth this season that maybe you need, that maybe Mikel Arteta doesn't have? Lots of players to have a look at there. I would often be going to the interest in transfer, put it to doubtful. Go to contract expired in the players in range. Contract expired and sorted by world rating, and you can see David De Gea's down there. Obviously, you don't want another goalkeeper, but there are some quality players in there. The likes of Jesse Lingard could possibly do a job. Probably not at Arsenal, though, if I'm being completely honest. So maybe not so many players down in the contracts expired, but have a little glance at the transfer list, particularly around deadline day. You know, John McGinn, somebody I've signed for Everton, could do a job for Arsenal. Rafinha as well, 26-year-old from Barcelona, former Leeds player, of course. Thomas Lemar used to be brilliant in Football Manager. Could you rejuvenate his career after a few years at Atletico Madrid? It's all up to you. Scott McTominay could be the guy that you bring in to sit alongside Declan Rice and really try and solidify that defensive midfield. Honestly, there are so many different ways you could go with it. But let's have a little look at the dynamics at the start. Club atmosphere is brilliant. Cohesion needs a little bit of work. And of course, you're going to struggle with the managerial support at a big team early on. Your team leaders are the likes of Ødegaard, Jesus and Declan Rice. But you've got a lot of highly influential players there. So you need to keep the likes of Reece Nelson happy, because although he's a fringe player, same with El Neni, fringe player, Emile Smith-Rowe, they're all fringe players but are highly influential, so you don't want to upset them as you go into the start of the season. But that is pretty much where we are going to be leaving this team guide. There's just one more thing I'm going to do, and that's start this game in your world mode and see how much you've got in your transfer kitty for that. Well, there you are then. £135 million is yours if you go into the Your Team mode. You've got 700,000 in the wage budget kitty as well. And, of course, you've got some of the players that left Arsenal. For some reason, Kai Havertz is in there. I'm not really sure how that's happened. Where's Declan Rice? Surely Declan Rice isn't in there as well, is he? Why is Kai Havertz there? Surely that's a glitch. I can't see Declan Rice there. Yeah, that's really odd. Havertz is apparently in the team. That's got to be a glitch. But yeah, Declan Rice still at West Ham, £70 million. I mean, maybe you could get him for less money than Mikel Arteta paid for him. You know, it could happen. Who else is in there that was, of course, there at the start of the season? Granit Xhaka, you could keep him around at the club. Rob Holding's still there as well. And obviously all of the players that haven't gone out on loan. But I'm completely baffled by Kai Havertz, why he's there. And nobody else is. Did he join maybe before the 3rd of July? Is that where that comes from? So depending on your start date, does that affect it? I don't know. You guys will have to let me know if that's a thing down in the comment section, because I'm not 100% sure about that. Let me just test it. Let's start it in, say, February and see if Kai Havertz is there. Okay, well, I think Kai Havertz is gone. So yeah, it must work. Yeah, he must have joined before the 3rd of July. That's all I'm assuming. So maybe transfers that have gone through before the 3rd of July still happen, and then you've got to do the rest. But there you go. There is our Arsenal team guide, the first one of many. If you have enjoyed it, do give it a big thumbs up down below. And if you are somebody that regularly manages Arsenal, feel free to leave your tips down below in the comments. Let's all help each other out as we start a new journey with Football Manager 2024. Make sure you check out my actual series of Football Manager. Currently, we've got the the Everton project during the FM early access, and then we will be doing a daily series of South Shields non-league to Champions League, which I cannot wait for. That's going to be starting in the next couple of weeks at the time of recording this video, so make sure you keep an eye out on the channel for that. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.